And welcome to the Christmas episode of our Let's Play. And this is the beginning of the Christmas season. Virtual year, it lasts until Epiphany, oftentimes till the baptism, and for some parishes, it lasts till February 2nd. So, in the spirit of gift giving, I have acquired 3 meager gifts, and I'll present them from least important to most important, depending on your tastes. Starting from least important, my Secret Santa, Starfinder. For those in the evening group I game with, I now have this book. A character will be coming soon. And then after that, from my sister, I'm not sure how she found this. Yeah, take time to read this. Gotham City Cocktails. Yes, you heard that. Official handcrafted food and drinks from the world of Batman. 70 recipes inspired by the hometown of DC's iconic superhero by Andre Darlington. And it has, let me go random, it has such goodies as the Commissioner, the Gotham City Royal, the Elegy, and the Demon's Head, obviously inspired by Ra's al Ghul or Ra's al Ghul, depending on how you pronounce his name. I guess it really depends on how his creator, Denny O'Neil, pronounced the name. Don't remember which pronunciation he preferred. But yes, let's see what this is. The English translation of Ra's al Ghul is Head of the Demon, and this cocktail captures the man's pure evil in a very dramatic way. Butterfly pea flowers have been used for centuries in tea, and their deep blue petals make a natural dye. One of the flower's distinctive features in liquid form is that it changes color based on the pH of substances added to it. For instance, lime juice. Watch in amazement as the color of this drink transforms from blue to purple. It is an impressive trick that Gotham City's bartenders use to wow guests. Note that butterfly pea flower powder and liquid are available online. Did not know that. Did not know these things existed. So, ingredients and instructions. 2 ounces vodka, 1 bar spoon, butterfly pea flower liquid, 3/4 of an ounce fresh lime juice, 1 ounce Cointreau. Combine the vodka and butterfly pea flower liquid in an ice-filled rocks glass. Shake the lime juice and Cointreau with ice and strain slowly into the rocks glass. Interesting. If you're into that sort of thing. Some cocktails I like, some I don't. And then I finally have in my hands a book by Catholic Answers apologist Trent Horn, specifically Hard Sayings, a Catholic approach to answering Bible difficulties. This is essentially his defense on the magisterium of the Catholic Church's interpretation of sacred scripture and how, the morals of the faith in the world we live in. Neither of them are contradicted by what we find in the Bible, even by various sayings that at first glance appear disagreeable with our sentiments, but at least 371 pages of him detailing into this topic. I look forward to reading it. And with that, I will briefly pause the recording, and when I see you on the other side, we will commence with the gaming. And welcome back. Alright, so last we left off, we cleared off this level. I showed why I wanted to take the blind fight feat, because it annoys spellcasters, as you do. And that's a sound effect. I already cleared this level, doesn't anybody. So, time to go down into these pits, which, from what we've been told, are the maximum security wing. Yep. Okay. There has been a prison break in the Peninsula District. Aside from the chaos in the district itself, former prisoners now patrol the prison interior, killing off the former guards within their cells. The dreaded pits sprawl out beneath the prison's second floor. At one time, this is where the guards threw the most unruly of their prisoners. Now, those prisoners have seized it for their own, and it is the guards who have been thrown out, all except one, the head gaoler. Let me go along and up that. Tango Book Estate. Oh, good, I did spell that correctly. Okay. I was coming up with the title for the YouTube video. I had doubts on whether I spelled it correctly, but yes, we don't have both ways. Oh, where does this lead? Oh, okay. Let's see if I can move you over here. Actually, skill person. Okay. Power attack! Oh, I'm hearing things. No, this ain't good. Say what you want about fighters, they get the job done. on that. The saves generally aren't high for fighters. What did I put down with that? Oh, it's my reflex that's low. Oh, let's see. It's the anti-black fights. Get no weapons against me. I ran into a wall. So yeah, they definitely know I'm here. Let's get that flanking bonus. Tomi! Supposed to disarm the trap. Another spell I can't use. Which path do I go? This one gaming buddy wants to say, always go left. Unlock this.
It's done.
Thank you. Ooh. Oh, puppies. Rest for the weary.
Okie dokie.
Is his arm still faced there?
It's done. dokie.
Need the rest. Before I deal with the sorcerer.
Welcome. Do you have news of the missing Waterdavian creatures? Or is there something else you need? Farewell. May Tyr guide your steps.
Okay.
Attack! I say attack!
Oh, I died. Wow. Well, shoot. Well, I will briefly pause the recording, and when we get back, it will be attempt number 2 against the sorcerer. We'll be back soon. Will be my big glimpse for you. All right.
Step behind me. Follow, my friend. Okay, dokie. Behind me. Follow, my friend. Let no one take this spot. Okay, hold dokie. Here. Let no one take this spot. Okay, hold dokie. Here. Step behind me. Follow, my friend.
We'll be prepared. That. No, give this to me. This to you. That to you.
Okay, dokie. Step behind me. Follow, my friend. It's done. It's done. I love this part! Okay, dokie. Okay, dokie. It's done. It's done.
Plus 4 off, applicable strength, and the mark skill is still in effect. Yeah.
Okay, dokie.
What did I not suffer that trap?
It's done. Okay, dokie. It's done.
Wow, they're unobservant.
You are so...
Did they not hear the clank, clank, clank? Interesting. Well, I guess it's fitting that Bjorn died if he was eventually going to die this walkthrough on Christmas. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I did briefly get lost.
Okay, dokie. It's done. Back to wherever.
And back to normal. Power attack.
no one take this spot! Hold here!
Teamwork. Ooh, a weapon I can't use. Yeah, nope, I'm not a monk.
Step behind me! Follow, my friend!
Okay, dokie.
Jammy.
Ah, it's done.
Thank you. This is a good one.
You are so gonna feel some
Here comes Halfling Death!
Anticlimactic. All that build up just for that, musically wise. Oh, well, that was background information. So, it's an evil weapon. Okay. As you do.
Ah, no can do.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Step behind me! Follow, my friend!
I am paralyzed. Not just stunned. Okay. So what close that? Is that a reflex? No, it's a will save. Fighter casts Word of Recall. Yeah, this is the get you out of jail free move in the game. Except for parts of the game, which we'll find out later on where I can't use that. Okay, save, just in case.
Step behind me. Follow, my friend.
How tough is he?
Okay, dokie.
I'm going to die. Shit. Oh.
So, you hunt the head jailer, yeah? Know what you face?
Just a man like any other, maybe driven mad by the play. Oh crap. Guards into zombies. Have you seen it? So this is where the intellect devourer went, because you remember there were 4 creatures in the beginning that disappeared from the academy, and the intellect devourer was one of them. Oh, who are you? Alright, it's time to show some mercy. Yep. Hmm.
Step behind
Okay,
me.
dokie.
Follow, my friend.
Let's gather as many clues as we can.
Okay, dokie. Ah, no can do. Ah, no can do.
I will overcome.
Nice to be a key. Day 2084 of my journey. I just let a cannibal go.
Ah, no can do.
I need help here. Stand. Huh. Huh. Ha. Ha. Ha.
Well, that for sure. Well,
Step behind me. Follow, my friend.
I think that'll be it for this video, at least. Go ahead and sell some stuff real quick.
Welcome. Do you have news of the missing Waterdavian creatures?
Maybe.
Or is there something else you need?
Ah. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to shop for supplies that I'll be sure to need against the fight, and then maybe I'll do a theology break and then to end it. Maybe. I don't know.
I recognize you. You're one of the new recruits under Arabeth, are you not? I'm sorry, this is a spellcaster's guild. It will not interest you.
Yes, it will. You know what? A potion of bark skin.
Greetings again. Nature welcomes you. I hope the day has held you in better health than those poor creatures in the Magnet Zoo.
I require many supplies. Now, you have what I need. Thank you, brother. Right. I'm going to pause for now, and then think about what I want to talk about. So, see you when I unpause. And now, I shall read to you pages 137 to 142 of G.K. Chesterton's The Everlasting Man, since it is the spirit of Christmas. Part 2, on the man called Christ. Chapter 1, the God in the Cave. This sketch of the human story began in a cave, the cave which popular science associates with the caveman, and in which practical discovery has really found archaic drawings of animals. The second half of human history, which was like a new creation of the world, also begins in a cave. There is even a shadow of such a fancy in the fact that animals were again present, for it was a cave used as a stable by the mountaineers of the uplands about Bethlehem, who still drive their cattle into such holes and caverns at night. It was here that a homeless couple had crept underground with the cattle when the doors of the crowded caravanserai had been shut in their faces, and it was here beneath the very feet of the passerbys, in a cellar under the very floor of the world, that Jesus Christ was born. But in that second creation there was indeed something symbolical in the roots of the primeval rock, or the horns of the prehistoric herd. God was also a caveman, and had also traced strange shapes of creatures, curiously colored upon the wall of the world, but the pictures that he made had come to life. A mass of legend and literature, which increases and will never end, has repeated and rung the changes on that single paradox, that the hands that had made the sun and stars were too small to reach the huge heads of the cattle. Upon this paradox, we might almost say, upon this jest, all the literature of our faith is founded. It is at least like a jest in this, that it is something which the scientific critic cannot see. He laboriously explains the difficulty which we have always defiantly and almost derisively exaggerated, and mildly condemns as improbable something that we have almost badly exalted as incredible, as something that would be much too good to be true, except that it is true. When that contrast between the cosmic creation and the little local infancy has been repeated, reiterated, underlined, emphasized, exulted in, sung, shouted, roared, not to say howled, in 100,000 hymns, carols, rhymes, rituals, pictures, poems, and popular sermons, it may be suggested that we hardly need a higher critic to draw our attention to something a little odd about it, especially one of the sort that seems to take a long time to see a joke, even his own joke. But about this contrast and combination of ideas, one thing may be said here, because it is relevant to the whole thesis of this book. The sort of modern critic of whom I speak is generally much impressed with the importance of education in life and the importance of psychology in education. That sort of man is never tired of telling us that first impressions fix character by the law of causation, and he will become quite nervous if a child's visual sense is poisoned by the wrong colors on a gollywog, or his nervous system prematurely shaken by a cacophonous rattle. Yet he will think us very narrow-minded if we say that this is exactly why there really is a difference between being brought up as a Christian and being brought up as a Jew or a Muslim or an atheist. The difference is that every Catholic child has learned from pictures, and even every Protestant child from stories. This incredible combination of contrasted ideas as one of the very first impressions on his mind, it is not merely a theological difference. It is a psychological difference which can outlast any theologies. It really is, as that sort of scientist loves to say about anything, incurable. Any agnostic or atheist whose childhood has known a real Christmas has ever afterwards, whether he likes it or not, an association in his mind between two ideas that most of mankind must regard as remote from each other, the idea of a baby and the idea of an unknown strength that sustains the stars. His instincts and imagination can still connect them when his reason can no longer see the need of the connection. For him, there will always be some savor of religion about the mere picture of a mother and a baby, some hint of mercy and softening about the mere mention of the dreadful name of God. But the two ideas are not naturally or necessarily combined. They will not be necessarily combined for an ancient Greek or a Chinaman, even for Aristotle or Confucius. It is no more inevitable to connect God with an infant than to connect gravitation with a kitten. It has been created in our minds by Christmas because we are Christians, because we are psychological Christians even when we are not theological ones. In other words, this combination of ideas has emphatically, in the much disputed phrase, altered human nature. There is really a difference between the man who knows it and the man who does not. It may not be a difference of moral worth, for the Muslim or the Jew might be worthier according to his lights. But it is a plain fact about the crossing of two particular lights, the conjunction of two stars in our particular horoscope, omnipotence and impotence, or divinity and infancy, do definitely make a sort of epigram which a million receptions cannot turn into a platitude. It is not unreasonable to call it unique. Bethlehem is emphatically a place where extremes meet. Here begins, it is needless to say, another mighty influence for the humanization of Christendom. If the world wanted what is called a non-controversial aspect of Christianity, it would probably select Christmas. Yet it is obviously bound up with what is supposed to be a controversial aspect. I could never at any stage of my opinions imagine why. The respect paid to the Blessed Virgin. When I was a boy, a more Puritan generation objected to a statue upon my parish church representing the Virgin and Child. After much controversy, they compromised, taking away the child. One would think that this was even more corrupted with Mariolatry, unless the mother was counted less dangerous when deprived of a sort of weapon. But the practical difficulty is also a parable. You cannot chip away the statue of a mother from all round that of a newborn child. You cannot suspend the newborn child in midair. Indeed, you cannot really have a statue of a newborn child at all. Similarly, you cannot suspend the idea of a newborn child in the void or think of him without thinking of his mother. You cannot visit the child without visiting the mother. You cannot, in common human life, approach the child except through the mother. If we are to think of Christ in this aspect at all, the other idea follows as it followed in history. We must either leave Christ out of Christmas or Christmas out of Christ. Or we must admit, if only as we admit it in an old picture, that those holy heads are too near for the halos not to mingle and cross. It might be suggested in a somewhat violent image that nothing had happened in that fold or crack in the gray hills, except that the whole universe had been turned up inside out. I mean that all the eyes of the wonder and worship which had turned outwards to the largest thing were now turned inward to the smallest. The very image will suggest that multitudinous marvel of converging eyes that makes so much of the colored Catholic imagery like a peacock's tail. But it is true in a sense that God, who had only been a circumference, was seen as a center, and a center is infinitely small. It is true that the spiritual spiral henceforth works inward instead of outwards, and that in that sense is centripetal and not centrifugal. The faith becomes, in more ways than one, a religion of little things, but its traditions in art and literature and popular fable have quite sufficiently attested, as has been said, this particular paradox of the divine being in the cradle. Perhaps they have not so clearly emphasized the significance of the divine being in the cave. Curiously enough, indeed, tradition has not very clearly emphasized the cave. It is a familiar fact that the Bethlehem scene has been represented in every possible setting of time and country, of landscape and architecture, and it is wholly happy and admirable fact that men have conceived it as quite different according to their different individual traditions and tastes. But while all have realized that it was a stable, not so many have realized that it was a cave. Some critics have even been so silly as to suppose that there was some contradiction between the stable and the cave, in which case they cannot know much about the caves or stables in Palestine. As they see differences that are not there, it is needless to add that they do not see differences that are there. When a well-known critic says, for instance, that Christ being born in a rocky cavern is like Mithras having sprung alive out of a rock, it sounds like a parody upon comparative religion. There is such a thing as the point of a story, even if it is a story in the sense of a lie. And the notion of a hero appearing, like Pallas from the brain of Zeus, mature and without a mother, is obviously the very opposite of the idea of a god being born like an ordinary baby and entirely dependent on a mother. Whichever ideal we might prefer, we should surely see that they are contrary ideals. It is as stupid to connect them because they both contain a substance called stone as to identify the punishment of the deluge with the baptism in the Jordan because they both contain a substance called water. Whether as a myth or a mystery, Christ was obviously conceived as born in a hole in the rocks primarily because it marked the position of one outcast and homeless. Nevertheless, it is true, as I have said, that the cave has not been so commonly or so clearly used as a symbol as the other realities that surround the first Christmas. And the reason for this also refers to the very nature of that new world. It was, in a sense, the difficulty of a new dimension. Christ was not only born on the level of the world, but even lower than the world. The first act of the divine drama was enacted not only on no stage set up above the sightseer, but on a dark and curtained stage sunken out of sight. And that is an idea very difficult to express in most modes of artistic expression. It is the idea of simultaneous happenings on different levels of life, something like it might have been attempted in the more archaic and decorative medieval art. But the more the artists learned of realism and perspective, the less they could depict at once the angels in the heavens and the shepherds on the hills, and the glory and the darkness that was under the hills. Perhaps it could have been best conveyed by the characteristic expedient of some of the medieval guilds, when they wheeled about the streets of theatre with three stages, one above the other, with heaven above the earth and hell under the earth. But in the riddle of Bethlehem, it was heaven that was under the earth. There is in that alone the touch of a revolution, as of the world turned upside down. It would be vain to attempt to say anything adequate or anything new about the change which this conception of a deity born like an outcast or even an outlaw had upon the whole conception of law and its duties to the poor and outcasts. It is profoundly true to say that after that moment there could be no slaves. There could be and were people bearing that legal title until the church was strong enough to weed them out. But there could be no more of the pagan repose and the mere advantage to the state of keeping it a servile state. Individuals became important, in a sense in which no instruments can be important. A man could not be a means to an end, at any rate to any other man's end. All this popular and fraternal element in the story has been rightly attached by tradition to the episode of the shepherds, the hinds who found themselves talking face to face with the princes of heaven. But there is another aspect of the popular element as represented by the shepherds, which has not perhaps been so fully developed, and which is more directly relevant here. Men of the people, like the shepherds, men of the popular tradition, had everywhere been the makers of the mythologies. It was they who had felt most directly with least check or chill from philosophy or the corrupt cults of civilization. The need we have already considered, the images that were adventures of the imagination, the mythology that was a sort of search, the tempting and tantalizing hints of something half human in nature, the dumb significance of seasons and special places. They had best understood that the soul of a landscape is a story, and the soul of a story is a personality. But rationalism had already begun to rot away these really irrational, though imaginative treasures of the peasants, even as systematic slavery had eaten the peasant out of house and home. Upon all such peasantries everywhere there was descending a dusk and twilight of disappointment in the hour when these few men discovered what they sought. Everywhere else Arcadia was fading from the forest. Pan was dead, and the shepherds were scattered like sheep. And though no man knew it, the hour was near which was to end and to fulfill all things. And though no man heard it, there was one far-off cry in an unknown tongue upon the heaving wilderness of the mountains. The shepherds had found their shepherd. Thus ends the excerpt from Chesterton's Everlasting Man. Right, all right. Back to the game.
Step behind me. Follow, my friend.
All right. And I think right here we shall put it to an end, because the intellect of the intellect of our deserves its own episode. So this time I have decided to be serious when I say see you in the next video, and let the Christmas festivities begin, because it does not end today on December 25th.